check.
I keep a seat where the light won't reach. Whisper low so it sounds like peace. Lay your head, let the ceiling spin. You don't have to begin again. I've been here where the air goes thin. Saw what happens when you try to win. Better stay where the walls don't move. Nothing left that you have to prove. I don't push, I pull you close till you forget what you wanted most. It's just the way of the world. Down in the dirt where the flowers bloom. It's just the way of the world. You'll feel the power of an empty room. It's just the way of the world. Just wait a moment and we'll start again. You are the enemy of my friend, my friend, my friend, my friend. Take my hand, feel the current slow. I can show you what I know. Every spark only burns you out. Every dream just a longer drought. I don't lie, I just dim the flame. Give your hunger another name. Call it calm, call it letting go. Call it all that you'll never know. If you don't raise, you don't fall apart. That's the safest way to break a heart. It's just the way of the world. Down in the dirt where the flowers bloom. It's just the way of the world. You'll feel the power of an empty room. It's just the way of the world. Just wait a moment and we'll start again. You are the enemy of my friend, my friend, my friend, my friend. Stay down, stay near, I need you right.
Check one, check two. I think this is working. Hold on.
Stay small, I'll
Oh, yeah. Hit that like, share the show. Here we come. You know, I gotta say, I'm gonna jump straight into the chat room. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's nice to be back. I'm still a little muted. You can tell my voice is a little drier than normal, but it's on the mend. I have a mild nagging cough, and I'm all stuffed up. But I couldn't let a few days go without catching you guys up on things. What am I, the president? I can't disappear for 7 days. Now, I know what you're saying, Hal. He hasn't disappeared for 7 days. He did a pre-taped interview with Lara Trump, and they discussed the state of the Iran negotiations. Let me guess. During the interview, he said something along the lines of, they really want to make a deal, and we're close to having a deal, and we really have a deal, and basically the deal is there, and we just got a couple of things, but they really want to make a deal, and if they don't make a deal, I'll bomb the crap out of them. Something along those lines. Something that, by the way, would have actually been the exact same interview at any point over the last few weeks, which very well could have been recorded 2 weeks ago and held on to just in case. Especially if he's going through chemo, which is the new current assessment. Trump is apparently disappearing for about 4 or 5 days around the end of the month. And the timing of it is very curious. Many of you know that my girl just finished chemo, and she starts radiation tomorrow. So wish us all luck, and it's a big process. She's going 5 days a week for the next 4 weeks. It's going to be a bit, you know, and yes, there's a possibility that what you're seeing on Trump's head is, is either a wig or they're just going to take whatever hair's there and cover it up with stuff. But in all honesty, okay, somebody also put up when he's not playing golf. I got to tell you, how much footage do you think they have of him playing golf that they haven't released, that they just have? Right? Okay. So, anyways, Summer had to go through this, and I went with her for the appointments and dropped her off and picked her up and all that kind of stuff. And she had to sit there in her chair going through the whole thing. And the day you get it, it sucks and it's a lot, but it's the next few days that are really bad. The third or fourth day after you have the treatment, that's when chemo gets really bad. It feels like you're cooking inside. I'm relating this from my girl. And it would explain why. And then after about 5 days, you start to normalize again. They also give you steroids the day after, which, if you'll recall, Trump got steroids when he took the monoclonal antibodies, which if you notice any of the drugs you see for sale that are doing ads on your favorite news program, if they say some of the mab on the real name of the drug versus, them calling it, Testicia, make your balls voluminous and wonderful. May also cause your head to explode and your nuts to shrink along with your rectum. In correspondence, that they'll also have the name of the real drug, what it's actually called, not its brand name. If you see an MAB on the end of that, that's a monoclonal antibody. Okay, so Trump was on those when he got COVID, right? So, in getting the MABs, and by the way, the major is going to be joining us in a few minutes, and then we're hoping Phil can get through. He's okay, but they're under constant attack. So it's hard to say whether he's in his place or whether he's underground or whatever. Because Ukraine, according to Tucker Carlson and his friends, attacked Russia years ago by being Nazis with a Jewish president. Anyways, so we'll get to that. But anyways, Trump is showing all the signs, especially if you're looking at his schedule, of somebody who is receiving regular cancer treatments, specifically chemo. And so it's very possible. And thank you for the super chat. Was that Bonnie? Thank you so much. You're waiting on your Getty Scared My Cat shirt. Oh, okay. It's on my store already. I showed it a long time ago. It's on the Teespring store, I think, or the Twitch store. It's one of I forget. My brain is mush right now because I've been under it. But there is a Your Getty Scared My Cat shirt, just for the record. Thank you, Bonnie. And if you send me your size and you're going to be at a show, I will bring you one personally. So so you can tell over the last little bit that Caroline Leavitt is obviously on maternity leave. So they were, Trump came out at one point, was going to do little press briefings like it was COVID all over again. And then suddenly he couldn't. What was that about? And then it's Bessent, who is very reassuring. It's like Bessent is like Hank Paulson during the last week of Bush 2, when the economy was crashing and he was covered in flop sweat and he was stammering all the time. Bessent is like that all the time. And then, of course, Dr. Oz came out and, they're just kind of doing this like noisy tout, beat our chest thing, which again, Democrats, the one thing you can learn from this, start beating your chest about stuff. I love how Gavin Newsom is mocking Trump, and that works really well. Do that as well. But at the same time, go, I don't know why Josh Hawley's complaining about Snap. Democrats created it, and he wanted to shut it down for years until he realized his state runs on it. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? If your constituents need Snap to survive, like you say, thank a Democrat. That kind of stuff. All right. So, hey, how's your is a bridge in your part of the country finally being rebuilt after all these years? Thank for the Infrastructure Act of Joe Biden. See what I mean? Do that. And Democrats need to do this all the time, annoyingly so. If Trump's going to throw his name on the Kennedy Center and have it torn down again, it's a lovely thing. And by the way, that's it. The Trump Kennedy Center thing, that whole episode is over. Kind of like tariffs or well, we're in the middle of everything else, but we don't, kind of like tariffs. They're over. So in the meantime, I am under the impression that Trump is ill, like drastically Doc Adams ill. And I'm sorry I couldn't have Doc Adams on last week when I barely squeaked through my stand-up show. By the way, thank you, Patreon supporters, patreon.com/HalSparks. Obviously, in economic times like this, there's a drop everybody sees in support, and I completely understand it. But if you have the means and the wherewithal, it would really help. Obviously, I have not been able to make the donuts as this type of show requires lately. So there's the Venmo and all that kind of stuff, and the stuff I hate to talk about. Anyways, in the meantime, I would love to talk to Doc Adams very soon about that very fact, because his timing and my timing, is a cross of the streams. If you'll notice, he said initially, I think when we had him on, I want to say it was around November, 3 to 5 months. He's not that far off if Trump is on the tail end right now, which he very well may be. I said because of Walter Reed and all the other technological, whatever, the CIA goose juice that they can give you, that they have, this is the stuff that we're working on the superhuman. Oh, excellent. Doc Adams is going to be on the Friday afternoon show. Excellent. So we'll cover this then. But I believe, because I want to, that the U.S. government, in correspondence with all the other governments in the world, has been working on some sort of goose juice for everybody, starting off first as a super soldier serum, and then eventually to first the leadership and then in the water supply would be the idea. Let them be the guinea pigs. I'm fine with that. But I have no doubt that with what goose juice they have available, they can keep him afloat for an extra 4 months, which would put him right about a month before the election. And let me tell you something. That's what they're hoping for. Because for Republicans, the only thing I truly believe this. I think the only thing they truly believe could pull them out of this guaranteed loss in the midterms is Trump kicks, and they all go, you got to show up and preserve his legacy and bring the band back together maggot-wise one last time. That they want the mags go, if you let the Democrats take over, they're going to shut down. They're going to make J.D. Vance a lame duck, which he would already be. And they're going to, you just have to assume they're going to upend everything, right? They're going to tear him apart. They're going to ruin his legacy. And if you want his legacy to survive, you have to elect Republicans in the House and the Senate. You have to guarantee that so that J.D. Vance can continue his sainted legacy. That's honest to God. And this isn't just speculation on my point. We've seen it happen. Before the Butler shooting, Alex Jones was saying something kind of politically similar about what if somebody offed Trump or he died, you could get a much more maggoty fill-in. His vice, this before I think J.D. Vance was even added to the ticket, so I think his hopes were higher. To jump in, there's a couple other very maggoty groups, or representatives, senators, governors, whatever, that they were thinking they could jump in there and America would line up behind them like, I don't know, fucking Paxton or who, I don't know who they were talking about at the time, because I think it was all a fantasy, and it still is, because as soon as Trump kicks, MAGA takes his ball and goes home. This is a cult. You're talking like Branch Davidians after Waco. You're talking, you're talking Jonestown acolytes who never liked pineapple to start with. You know what I mean? So, no, Doc Adams is going to be on the show Friday on the afternoon show. I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to do a show today. And you could tell that the more I talk, the drier my throat gets. I'm trying to preserve it. You know what I need to do? I need to stay in the Alexander method, I must say, and, deepen my voice and relax into it. I've got a lozenge in. Do I have any spray? You bet I do. We're talking about the same thing, right? I don't know. But there is, there's a real reason to believe that he is getting worse, massively worse. And they are doing their best to try and hide that in either, I don't know. So this is a good question for the chat room. Let me know in the chat room, especially if, I could do my Cockney accent, yeah? I'll try to do that, I found last night, or like Friday night rather, that I could speak if I did a bit of an accent. I could do some. Oh, there's the Major. Excellent. So let me bring him in one moment, if I can. And I guess the big question is for the chat room, how in the world would you polish this turd? How do you? The dude is about to kick off, and it's so obvious to everyone that Trump is very ill, mentally and physically. He is, in a trap of his own making on multiple fronts. So, how would you do this? Would you prolong it, like hide the fact that he kicked like Dave if he went away, and just pretend he was busy doing stuff? Or would you roll him out immediately and have JD Vance take over, and then they go, we've got to preserve his legacy, so vote for Republicans, otherwise the Democrats will tear down every wonderful thing Trump did, like $5 gasoline. How do you spin this? I'm dead serious. You think as if you were like Stephen Miller level of evil right now. Imagine if you were. How would you polish this turd? All right, I'm going to bring in the Major. He's with us right now, waiting in the wings. Thank you, Major, for joining us this morning. Good to see you, my friend.
Man, I just want to apologize. I had to take all the paperwork to the VA this morning, and I had no idea they were going to keep me as long as they did.
I completely understand. So, let's see. I'm going to publish these and we go back to here. There you go. I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to do a show this morning because I'm still nursing my voice back to health, and I'm a little under the weather, which brings us to our primary topic. And that Donald Trump has not been seen since the day after his Walter Reed visit last week. And that, except for allegedly this one gaggle on the way to an airplane, which lasted about 8 minutes or something like that, which I've yet to watch. So again, I don't buy it. As many AI videos as I've seen out of the White House, it's hard to say. But he also did this pre-taped interview with Laura Trump, which I will be covering this afternoon, which not only does he look like Chris from Family Guy, more than he ever has. I'm not kidding. I don't buy that that's a fresh interview, because what's new in anything that he says? Most of what he says is muscle memory anyways, right? And then if he said 2 weeks ago, the Iranians want to make a deal, everything's working, things will happen during a ceasefire, but we're right on track and we've got a great deal and it's going to be better than blah, blah, blah. That's what he's been saying. He said that exact same thing for weeks now, and it's still ongoing. So how would you know this was a new interview?
No, so, I don't. I think you're spot on, and I'm going to tell you right now. This administration would literally hide him I mean, he could pass away and they would still hide him as long as they're continuing to push the things that they want to push.
Right.
He has been their useful idiot, and they're going to do everything in their power to continue using him as their useful idiot.
Yeah.
This is a buffoon. What we are seeing with this administration is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's at the point now where it's not just taking back power. We have to take back power, and we have to right the wrongs. We've got to crush some of these jackaloons like Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller. These people, they absolutely deserve to be held accountable for their crimes. And the American people have been punished by this administration. And until these people wake up, and it still kills me because I see things. I went to the VA hospital today, and I saw vehicles that had Biden sucks and Trump shit all over them. And it's like,
Right.
when are you people gonna wake up? How stupid do you have to be before you're willing to finally scratch that bullshit off the backs of your windows? Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about you. Never has. Never will. You are his useful idiot. You are the reason why he loves the poorly educated. And at the end of the day, this man has done so much damage to our country. He has done so much damage to the future of the United States of America. Right now, nobody should ever want to stand side by side with the United States of America with what Donald Trump and them are doing right now to our Afghan interpreters. They're trying to snatch them up and send them to Sudan. Donald Trump also was the one who stabbed the Kurds in the back. Nobody will ever want to stand with us in combat ever again because we can't be trusted because of people like Donald Trump, and it's sickening.
Yeah. Over the last, few days, especially, Trump has, obviously his poll numbers are in the shitter. Obviously, there's to such a point that there is a percentage of maggots that have turned on him that aren't coming back. And online, you'll see what I would call a subset of a subset of a subset. If you take news on how he's being received in the country based on what shows up on Twitter or any of these other things, you'll get this, the idea that there's like an army of bot-tastic maggots out there who are defending him to the very end. But even on Truth Sinkhole, there are a bunch of people going, wait a second, especially about gas prices, things that actually affect them. My current pet peeve primarily is that a lot of them are, there was an interview, I think I'm going to cover this afternoon. I've seen like that had happened between Megyn Kelly and I think Sean Ryan. And both of them are just, their minds are boggled by the possible. How could it have been that he turned out to be such a liar and such a fraudster and all this stuff when, and all of them are sort of close to the point of apologizing to their followers for believing it themselves. None of them are apologizing to the Democrats they lied about and vilified and called us Democrats and all that kind of stuff for just trying to tell them that, look, I don't agree with your political stance on a bunch of stuff, but that guy is a rapist. Like at a certain point, they've got to start taking, before I take them seriously, they got to start taking back the stuff they said about Democrats who were honestly, you and I, we're not surprised by this. I don't think anybody in my chat room is shocked by any of this nonsense. And yet they seem like flabbergasted. There's all this pearl clutching. I had no idea he would be, so blazingly full of shit. I'm like, how could you not?
Yeah, they get no pass. That's
right.
The thing. Right now, they're trying to save themselves. It's no different than like the Morning Joe folks. Was one of the first ones to bend the knee.
Mm-hmm.
Look. Let me tell you something. We require honesty and integrity in this country. And we require honesty and integrity in our news media that we don't have and we're not getting because they killed the fairness doctrine back in the damn 70s. We need to bring back the fairness doctrine, and I'm going to try to do just that if I make the Washington, D.C. But I'm going to tell you right now, these people, Megyn Kelly and these people, they are the reasons why we are still in this friggin' swamp right now. They're the reasons why. So now that they're all of a sudden acting like, oh, we're starting to wake up and realize, where the hell have you been? You've been asleep for years doing nothing but trying to do whatever it does to promote you. Because back then, MAGA was huge, but MAGA is shrinking. Republicans are starting to turn on Donald Trump. Unaffiliated voters are absolutely voting Democrat, and it's happening all over this country. And it always kills me, too, because I'm running against the chair of the NRCC. You know, I'm running against the guy that's going to get as much money as he thinks he needs to be able to beat me in this race. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make him have to spend every damn dime he's got. But once again, these are people that will never, ever admit that Donald Trump is an absolute tyrant in everything that he has done. He is the reason why we are in the Middle East right now. He is the reason why soldiers are in jeopardy. You know, he's the reason why 150 people have now been murdered on the high seas in the Caribbean. This is all because of Donald Trump and his administration. And this entire administration will hide Donald Trump's corpse as long as they get to continue pushing their garbage that puts money in the pockets of the billionaires. It's time that we come in with the ferocity and not only take this country back, but we're going to tax the shit out of these billionaires. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be number. And if I make it to Congress and the Democrats start acting like they're going to drag their damn feet on this, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be fireworks.
Agreed. Here's the thing. The two big things that Democrats seem to be running on, and I think it's a good way to go, is accountability and affordability. That we've got, right. And if we hammer those nonstop between now and election day, they will find an audience amongst even, you know, the drifty, the Republicans that voted for Obama, for example, that still exist out there. They did actually vote for Obama twice. They did actually believe in him as a candidate over other people. And then they came around to Trump because they had been told that, you know, again, the GOP motto, the government can't do anything right, elect me and I'll prove it. And feel free to use that line against any Republican. I insist that it become ubiquitous because that is what they run on. You wouldn't hire a babysitter who goes, I hate kids. I think the problem is people are having too many children. And I think we got to stop reproduction. That's what you're voting for when you vote for a Republican to run a public office. They're not there to be public servants. They're there to feather their own nest. And especially in these days, like, it's just run away. Remember the quaint old days of Halliburton? Remember the quaint old days of no bid contracts and the 6 years of news cycle that we went through talking about Halliburton's no bid contracts? There's one of those a week under this administration.
Yep.
3,700 plus stock trades, including Dell right before he gave them, without a congressional approval, directed Hegseth to give them a Pentagon contract.
It is as corrupt as it has ever been in the history of this country. Right now, this administration and the billionaire class. This is why my campaign, I'm talking about a 5% wealth tax over $1 billion. 5% wealth tax. You got to understand, too, that will create $4 trillion over the course of 10 years. Look, we are now $39 trillion in debt. We got to start looking at things like this. I want to remove the cap on Social Security so the millionaires and the billionaires have to pay in it with every dime that they make, just like the rest of us do. Because if we did that, we would create a $300 billion a year little slush fund to make sure that Social Security will be there for our children. Those are the things that people need to be talking about. The affordability issue is major. The affordable housing is a serious situation right now. You know, we're out here trying to fight for these things and make things happen. It's going to hold these people accountable and make the billionaires finally pay their fair share. And it amazes me how this administration, they don't care. They do not care.
Right. Okay. One of the issues, that's all right. One of the issues that we have with I think the 5% thing is feasible and possible, and even across the board, it is a reasonable attachment to this. Here's where I see it running into trouble, in the same way that why Elon Musk pays almost no taxes. Elon Musk's salary is paid for with a loan that they take out from the banks that they write off as a liability. Well, Bezos is not, he doesn't work at Amazon anymore. Like he's still doing now. Blue Origin's part of that, but he's basically just sitting on his stock stuff, but he doesn't actually run the place. Elon Musk does. And he's about to release an IPO on SpaceX, which now is the parent company of X and Tesla and all these things, which makes no sense because basically he's just on the government tit forever. Tesla will now become a government car because of that the way he's got to set it up. But he does not actually, as a human being, make any income at all because his net worth is in his stock ownership of these companies that he doesn't get until he cashes out, and he can wait on that for almost forever. And then he lives off, they take out a loan for whatever salary, $1 billion that they're going to pay him this year, $5 billion, whatever it is. Because they can do that in their fundraising, and they can raise $20 billion in first round, whatever, 10th round fundraising or whatever. And then they can use that as leverage to borrow 10, give him 10 as a liability on the company, which means he's not technically receiving a salary under this law and the way the tax structure is set up because of Trump. So that the big BS bill has to be repealed in large part. Otherwise, even if you put a 5% tax on him, there's nothing to tax. But
understand
that's the
that
trick.
We also know. But also understand that we know that they have their ways.
Right.
But once again, we have to stop allowing those ways to happen.
Right.
And that's the key. We know what they're doing. With Jeff Bezos, he takes an $80,000 salary. But once again, he borrows off of all of his other stuff, and it keeps him in the lap of luxury and stuff. We need to hold the billionaires accountable, period. They're going to start paying their fair share because they have to, because the American people, the working class, have done this for the past 50 years. And you know what? It's literally, we got to stop this. We got to stop allowing these people to be able to beat the system. We allow them to get away with this shit. We have to, when this administration is done, we have to install countermeasures in place to mitigate all this shit and make it never happen again.
Yes, everything we took for granted as just the proper way that, things should work, that other presidents, even as corrupt as Nixon and Cheney and others have been, we're going to have to put rules in place that are written very finely. Now, I've said this for a long time, that one of the reasons why Republicans want bills that are 2 pages long. Everything should be really simple. Well, why is that? Well, if you wrote a tax bill that was 2 pages long, you know what that is? That's 1,000 loopholes. That's a loophole between every word. Unless you finally write this. And curiously enough, and this is, I don't know why people don't grasp this, but the more freedoms you have in a country, the more finely your laws have to be written. Because if you just have biblical law and you just stone to death anybody who kills somebody, including, I guess, the people who stoned the people to death for killing somebody, I don't know how that's a never-ending loop of death. But if you're just going by biblical law and you're just like, thou shalt not kill. All right, cool. Anybody who kills anybody for any reason whatsoever, right in fucking jail. Okay, end of story. And then you go, well, what about self-defense? No, you got to go right in there, right? Everybody who kills somebody, no matter what the rule is, goes straight into jail. But if you have the freedom to defend yourself, suddenly you have thou shalt not kill subsection A, unless it's in self-defense in this case. Okay, what if it's accidental? I didn't mean to kill them. I should probably go to jail for being, for wanton disregard for human life, but I didn't actively seek them out. So I'm not a danger to the community. I'm not going to go out looking to murder somebody. I was just wrong. So I should go to jail and pay for that loss that was there, but I'm not, I was texting while driving, or I was drunk, or whatever, those kind of things. You go to jail for a certain amount of that. That's subsection B. And so the more freedoms you have to explain yourself and operate in a real free society, the more finely written your laws have to be. You need a big fucking thick bill so that everybody doesn't just go to jail for one fucking thing. That's the part that these assholes don't get. And the reason they talk like this is because they're really talking about tax law. They just want the ability to get around it. If you don't catch me, if you don't find the body, I never killed anybody. That's it. Habeas corpus. That's it. Like, if you can't find the corpse, I'm out. And that's what they're hoping for. That's why Donald Trump, was like, but the president gets special dispensation by the SCOTUS. Everybody else, one law for everybody to just fall under. At him, he can break that law actively as long as he says he's doing it for national security. That can't be the case. You should now have to explain yourself. Anything that falls under military action, the ability to do it in 60 days and have 30 days to pull out, which is what he's using. And then he's going to do another one in Iran. That's why they're pausing as long as they are, by the way, so they could say this is a whole new war. That's why they're dragging this shit out. That's why. It's not he's fucking around, blah, blah. They are literally waiting for the 30 days to burn out after he said the law was over, so he could start a brand new, or the war was over, so he can say, well, we were basically withdrawing into a defensive posture. We're not actually doing this anymore. They started a new war because Iran will bomb something during that time, and he can use it. They'll hit us. They'll hit the Kuwaiti airport like they did today. They'll do something like that, right? And then he'll get to start up again. They're using the law as the letter of the law, even though he says he blows right past it. They're using the letter of the law. So the letter of the law must be more finely written. That the president must, if he does declare war, he's got 60 days. But he must give a closed-door assessment to the security, to the committee in the House and the Senate. They must explain themselves to those folks. They gotta get there has to be some sort of tacit. Even if it's just we in the Congress understand based on the committee stuff that we've been told that we understand the reasoning behind this and the explanation is sound, even if they don't okay the war itself and pull it and order pulling it back. So that is mandatory. That it's not if Mike Johnson brings it to the floor, if he breaks but none of that shit. Within 10 days of a declaration, of a military strike, the president has to brief Congress, and Congress has to brief the other representatives who aren't in committee with a reasoning for the extension of this, even if they don't have to vote on it being okay, because we need that place, the 60-day rule in place. Even if you want to leave that there still has to be a non-optional hurdles that we put in place. Otherwise, Trump is the least of it. Trump is exactly Reagan dealing with the Iranians to get Carter out of office. With George H.W. Bush, who was the head of the CIA when Carter was president, and Carter fired him. And what did H.W. Bush do? The RNC put him with Reagan as the real guy, as the Cheney to his Bush, right? And they said, go make a deal with all the guys you've been playing footsie with in Iran to keep those hostages so that we can get Reagan in here, so we can undo all the IG stuff that Carter put in place. Carter was an amazing president. And they the whole oil embargo, part of that, at this point, we just have to assume it was shenanigans caused by Bush 1 under Reagan, specifically as they were leading into the election and after H.W. Bush had been fired, to undermine the Carter presidency, make the public hate him so that they could get Carter in there and get what they wanted.
It's like there's no honor anywhere anymore.
None.
There's no honor.
They treat America like renters, man. They're not. Democrats treat America like we have a mortgage in the country. We plan to live here. We plan to stay here. We plan to raise our children here. The Republicans treat them like renters. Like they just fucking move their shit out in the middle of the night, put toothpaste in the poster holes on the wall so they can get their security deposit back, and then it all falls apart after they're already gone. Look at Peter Thiel moving to Argentina.
Yeah. I've said this many times. I said this was going to happen. These guys, when they see that America is pretty much, completely engulfed in flames, they're going to run off because they can, and they can afford to go to homes they own all over the planet. And they're going to sit there and they're going to watch the United States burn to the ground. And then they're going to wait for us to start building it up from the ashes. And then they're going to show back up and act like they need to be in charge.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, we've got to hold billionaires accountable. And there's got to be a way to hold billionaires accountable. Stop allowing them to get away with the things that they're doing. Stop allowing them to do the damage that they're doing to this country. And I'm going to tell you, the corruption that we see is just, I live in North Carolina, and I love North Carolina. North Carolina's got some issues, but I love North Carolina. But I lived in West Virginia. Data centers are starting to pop up And the average citizen should not have to carry that money that it's going to take to expand your local energy companies, to the land, the water consumption. The American people are going to get screwed over because of this right here. And I'm going to tell you right now, you want to know what real corruption looks like? Who's the first person in West Virginia that the data centers hired? The fucking Speaker of the House in West Virginia. Do you think that asshole's going to be out there fighting for the people, or is he going to be fighting for the data centers that's putting money in his pocket? The blatant corruption that we see right now across this country. If a data center wants to establish itself, the data center should have to be made to pay for every penny that it takes for the electric companies to expand to handle the data centers. The building of the data centers, everything should come out of the pockets of the data centers, not the American people. But what we are seeing right now, which is what we see with the billionaire class, is the data centers, is they're going to stack the deck to make sure that the people that make the laws in this country are in their pockets. And we're going to sit and let this shit just happen. It's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Well, couple of things. All data centers are not created equal. I've been talking about this for a little bit. And part of what is happening right now is that there is an active pushback again, this is why they're not calling them AI centers, because by and large, they are not AI related. The data centers that we're talking about, especially now, especially when they come from Meta, for example, are cloud service facilities that they are moving back to the United States because of the inability to get the chips necessary to run those server farms just for all the fucking Facebook pages and all that kind of shit back in the United States, because we can't sell it to China and we can't sell it to India and a couple other countries. So you can't have them where you used to have them. There used to be, all your Facebook data used to be stored in Eastern China. Or in Western China, beg your pardon, and these big server farms. In the same way that there were these big crypto exchanges. You can't buy crypto in China. You can't use crypto in China, but you can grow it there. You can farm it there and fuck up the arable land and poison the water and all that kind of stuff, because the Chinese government doesn't give a shit about what happens downstream. So they're having to move these back to the United States specifically. The other thing is that the key thing that I keep trying to tell people is that these things are temporary. They're going to build these giant fucking facilities. They're going to be obsolete within 5 years. They're not going to be necessary. And so what they're going to be is these giant blighted warehouse ghost town pieces of shit next to them. There are also differences in the companies that are doing it. Oracle and Mr. Dickhead, what's his name? Kevin O'Leary and all those guys. They're building these things with this idea that eventually this is basically the furtherance of nuclear power in the United States. That they want to build quick and dirty nuke power in the United States as a replacement for the shift that they know is coming. They know petroleum is over. They know coal is over. So they're trying to do this whole thing where we shift to renewables and nukes without saying that's what they're doing. Most of this is a farce to cover that stuff. So the issue that we have with the data centers is that people are going to have these giant, what are effectively empty Amazon warehouse buildings that will be used for nothing, for and with all these tax breaks and all these other stuff. And then you watch, you know what they're going to do next? They're going to knock them the fuck down. And Pulte, who was just put in charge of the DNI, who, if you don't know, if you've never seen Pulte Homes, is one of these big tract home builders in the United States, like America West and others. When the house I'm in was built, it's an America West, one of these slapdash Lego houses where you pick your features and just have it built in the Vegas area. Lots of it. It started out as a Pulte company. Pulte, basically bought up another company and called it America West. And so he owns all these tract home areas. And what you're going to see is they're going to swoop in, like you're saying, build these things. They'll sit for a few years. They're going to refine the AI stuff. And they're not going to need these facilities anymore. They're sure as fuck not going to be factories. So they're going to use them to build tract homes, their own little Liberty cities everywhere. That's what they're building. That's why they're where they are. That's why they're like, there's all these wonderful resources stuff. Well, they're only going to boil the rivers while they're there. Soon as they're done and they turn that shit off, you've got little Ayn Rand towns all over the fucking country that are going to be these giant gated communities that nobody else is welcome to with their own fucking private landing strip that they're going to build. I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest lies that they're shoveling because they know we're in this like kind of space race with the Chinese about AI. But in reality, they're just buying up huge chunks of land on the taxpayer dime. They're going to own these places. It's like McDonald's and Starbucks are two of the biggest landowners in America because they have this thing where they buy the building. They rent it at first and then they buy the property. And if it's in a building, they ultimately sometimes they buy the whole goddamn building. So if you're in Toledo and there's an office building with a Starbucks in the corner, that actually belongs, don't worry about it, that actually belongs to fucking Starbucks after a while. And it's not a new business model. Been around for a long time. They're buying up giant chunks of land. This is the other way. Like BlackRock got called out, and now they're finding another way around it.
And I'm going to tell you too. I think that they may even be some more sinister stuff behind buying up all this land and building these facilities out in the middle of nowhere. What I fear people getting snatched off the streets and put in those facilities. And then I fear that our government, especially under this current administration, wouldn't have no problems making those people that are in those facilities, that are on lockdown in those facilities, to go out and start working in farms for free so that farmers can, do what they do.
Or Trump gives them their bro pass and they just live there and pretend they don't exist. Because that's the other thing.
I just think that there's a lot of stuff that is sinister behind all the things that we have going on right now in this country. And if we don't wake up and we don't start fighting and pushing back, we're going to lose this country. And I'm going to tell you right now, these people in Washington, D.C., let me tell you, that they do not care. They know that Donald Trump is a buffoon. Everybody knows Donald Trump is a buffoon. Everybody knows that Donald Trump's all over the Epstein files. Everybody knows that Donald Trump is a pedophile. He is a rapist. Everybody knows this. But they will promote him as long as they get to win. And I'm telling you, there's nothing more un-American than what we are going through right now in this country.
Well, again, all the things that Trump says about Biden are true about him 100 times over. And not only does he use, quote, unquote, the auto pen all the time, I've shown multiple times where he is AIing videos of himself, like when he was reading scripture. Both the times specifically that he's read scripture have been AI'd like so poorly. And I went through beat by beat, right? Watch out for more of that stuff. Watch out for more of those, because as his health gets worse and as they decide he's more of a liability than an asset, you're going to see a ton of that this summer. You're going to see a bunch of AI ads of him. And again, this idea that he is up all night, I got to call bullshit on this nonstop. He is in a chemically induced coma 12 hours a day. He is not awake. Leslie Harp or whatever her name is, and the Scavino and whoever else is now in the tweet brigade goes through his day when he's got his 2 hours during the day where he's lucid. They give him one pre-taped interview that he does for about a half an hour while he's awake. They jack him up on steroids for it, and then I'm calling it. And he does that, and then they go through a bunch of shit. And then they post nonstop all day long on his behalf while he's getting treatment or he's hiding away. And so again, that's why he grips the steps, because he knows he's going to fall. It's why he, it only has, I said he was going to have a 4-hour window. It's now 2. They're not even trying anymore. He's got a 2-hour window where he can talk or do something. And then the rest of it's all executive time or policy meetings, which he's not at or he's asleep during. The reality is, go ahead.
No, they will use AI to continue promoting him. Even if he is in a coffin, they will hide this. It's.
Well, he's also supposedly the big test will be, he is now going to do his own America 250 Freedom Festy blah, 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 where he's going to come out and do a rally, which will be brutally painful to watch. He is. I guarantee right now that if anything, if they're working on anything, they're working on that speech. I've told this story a few times, but when Reagan gave his final speech at the RNC for Bush when he was running for re-election against Clinton, Reagan was already in primary dementia in his first year of his second term because he'd been shot. The stress, he was always going to have dementia, but it shaved like 10 years out of his life and brought the end faster. That's what it does. It takes 10 years out of the middle. It doesn't take the last 10. You don't kick off early. You decay earlier. And so when Reagan was giving that speech, he worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. The doctor said it took a year off his life prepping for that speech. And he kept going, well, okay. When people would applaud, because he was afraid he would get off target, he would get off the script and never get back. He was terrified. Trump is very much in that same place. He's just got more of a bravado about himself, and he has no illusion that he has to sound coherent. He can talk about whatever the fuck he wants because he believes his followers will do this. That's the big problem with the administration, with the people around him are like, oh shit, if he thinks he can just ramble off about fucking, male weightlifters and women competition and go, and that's going to make people forget about $5 fucking gasoline. We're in deep shit right before the midterms. That's what they're focused on. So, they're going to give him this like Wikipedia thing to read, where he's, it's one of those things where he goes, most people don't know Lincoln was a Republican. Like everybody knows Lincoln was a Republican dipshit. They also know that the Republicans and the Democrats changed teams in the 60s because the Dixiecrats became the modern Republicans. That's what happens. That's the part Dinesh D'Souza always leaves out. But they're prepping for that now because he just decided that I don't need Bret Michaels and fucking Vanilla Ice. I'll do it. And it's going to be a shit show. I'm going to cover the whole thing. It's going to be a shit show.
I think the fight in front of the Capitol is going to be a shit show as well. And, and at the end of the day, if anybody deserves it, it's Donald Trump. So I hope it's miserable. I hope he's
there
miserable
is a.
about it.
Let me see if I can bring this up. If this is my page or so. Okay, so yeah, so this is the current situation with what's going on in Iran and the United States. And this is why I think that he could pre-tape all the interviews about this shit and it wouldn't matter. Because
didn't they just say, didn't Iran basically just say that they're cutting ties and there'll be no more communication until Donald Trump is gone?
Well, and they also said that last Friday. They're like, we're not talking to these assholes. When Trump tried to pump and dump the market again on a Friday night or whoever. Again, at this point, why would I believe anything the administration says about who's saying what in this circumstance? Why in the world? Like, if they're going to say that shit about Biden and stuff, like senators on the Hill knew that Biden was working the phones to get the Infrastructure Act passed, right? They knew this. Like you could talk to them and go, yes, I spoke to him today. His big thing is we need rural broadband to get a buy-in from the red states. All that stuff that they talked about came from that, right? That's a real thing. Nobody actually believes Donald Trump is working the fucking phones on any of this shit except to yell at people like Bibi Netanyahu. It's absurd. It's fucking absurd. And so they know he's not a part of this at all. Well, look at this title. Sorry, this is CNN today. Little clarity on progress of negotiations between U.S. and Iran. This is fucking evergreen at this point. This headline, they might as well just put up tomorrow and the day after and the day, like, go home, CNN. Just fucking hang this shingle on your fucking door and take a day take a week because this is all it's been from the very beginning, since before the fucking war started, when they were supposedly going to make a deal. They're so close to make a deal. They really want to make a deal. All that kind of nonsense. It's been garbage and it will stay garbage. This is not going to change. There is no way that the current regime as it stands is going to hunker down and try to get a nuke right now. Period. There's just no way, because they think it's their only survival mechanism. And I would like to say, for the record, fuck the Iranian Ayatollahs and the clerics and the IRGC They're all monsters. I have more kinship right now with the Iranian people than I've ever felt in my life because we're both run by arrogant assholes with dreams of ruining the world. But meantime, everything the White House is saying, like, oh, they're so close. We're this close. We got it. It's any second now, right? That whole shit. No, not at all. Not even fucking close. None of this is true. There is no there there. The negotiations have not been going on. This idea that they don't even know who the fuck they're talking to. And neither do we. And this is why, like I said, we need more finely written laws about what this means. If the president says we're negotiating a peace and an end to something after 60 days during the time that he has to pull out and he has to, which he followed the law legally because he had to, even though it's like, I don't have to do that. It's not constitutional. They did it anyways. Why? So they could jumpstart this shit again in 30 days. That's what this is about. So this dicking around will happen until that time. So one of the things I would propose is that if there are peace negotiations going on, Congress should be informed of who we're negotiating with specifically in any of these circumstances. Because honest to God, we don't know. And every time they say, well, it's this person or this person, the prime minister or the head of their Senate, effectively, who was on the negotiating team, was the lead negotiator, came out and said, yeah, we're not talking to him ever again. This is all bullshit. We don't trust him. And the key one was, I think at the end of it, and I'll see if I can find this, but the key line for me was the winner of a negotiation is the one who is most prepped for war the day after it's signed. They're not negotiating in good faith any more than we do. And why the fuck would they? He tore up the agreement we had. So
Yeah.
I don't get how anybody buys this shit. I said it the first. Yeah.
I don't either. I mean, I'm just like, I'm glad that I don't see the Ford F-550 pickup trucks running around with the, metal balls on the bottom with the Joe Biden flags. But of course, that's because they can't afford to put gas in their car.
Right.
But I just really hope that people are really starting to wake up, brother. I got to get off here. I got to do.
I know
some
that.
call time.
Thank you so much. Do it. So proud of you. And don't forget, everybody. Not at all. So ojadaforenc.com. Check it out and help it any way you can. Like I said, my voice will be better by the time you need me doing a call center right before the election, and I will be there for you, brother. So you just let me know. All right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. Thanks so much. I kept him over a minute. I feel okay about that. I don't know if Phil's going to be able to join us or not. He has been online, but it's patchy there, I have no doubt. So, we will continue to check in on him. He is alive and well. Well, he's alive, and he's unharmed. But he's in the middle of a war zone, and no one in a war zone is ever well, in that regard. So, I'm holding it together, I think. Yeah, you can definitely hear how my voice starts to dry out over time, but it's lasting longer. So that's a good sign-ish. I'm going to bring the chat room back in, mainly because I love you and I need your support to keep the show going. So hit the like, share the show. If you can't afford to help right now, I completely understand. If you can, bless your heart and thank you. I can't tell you how grateful I am that you guys are here and supportive. And feel, if I'm not able to do a couple of shows over the next couple of days, because I will keep the important ones. But I am going to do a show by hook or by crook this afternoon. What in the world? That's terrible. Look at the error. I'm being attacked. Clearly. What is this business right here? It's a giant URL and a widget. And all my Streamlabs things have died. My chat went away. This is terrible. Look at this. All right, I'll go back to just me. Maybe if I come back into that page. Nope. Look at that network change. That's not good. Apparently there's a hacker attack on Streamlabs, I guess. So it's just me. All right. I want to show you guys something. Hold on one second. Let me see if I bring this up. Oh, there he is. Excellent. Phil is here. That's wonderful. Hold on one second. I'm going to put him in here, and then I'm going to go to preview mode, and then I'll go to here, and so very glad he can be with us. Let's see, I'm going to go back to here and do a little bit of text changing and try to figure out what the is it going on. Whoops, hold on. Here. There we go. And everybody remind me not to clear my throat, will you? Because I shouldn't be doing that. I always think I'll get rid of the bleh, and then I don't. There we go. Excellent. Okay, here we go, and we will publish this. We'll publish this and bring in Philip Ittner right now with him. Hi, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I hear you just fine, and welcome. Glad you're okay. Obviously, in the current unpleasantness. Tell us about your evening.
Last night wasn't so bad. Monday into Tuesday wasn't great. That was pretty loud. But you know, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do because they're losing and they know it and they're desperate and
right.
They're gonna take it out on Kiev and
Right.
So you know, I mean, we've already spoken about this a couple of times. You know, we're gonna suffer. This summer is gonna be a lot of attacks. A lot of, I suspect a lot of intermediate missile attacks. I'm anticipating drone attacks. Monday into Tuesday, there was a moment where, there was a Shaheed right over my house, so I could hear it. Because they have a very distinctive sound. They're called mopeds for a reason, you know. So this kind of like very low decibel, monotonous engine sound flying over your head.
Hence drone, right?
Yeah,
The drone note.
So they're gonna keep doing this. Because they're losing, they're clearly losing, and I think we're going to get to a point pretty soon where the perception is going to be inescapable that Russia has lost this war. So, are you hearing some like some sibilance, some like a hum or a? Is that on my side or your side?
No, is that gone now? It should be gone now. Sorry, I saw a something.
Okay.
But,
it seems to be gone.
Okay, yeah. There was some sort of weird feedbacky thing going on, and I muted one other channel to see if that did it. So hopefully it will.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So we were just talking about with the major that the Iranian, I believe the Iranian foreign minister basically just said, yeah, we're not talking to anybody anymore. On the one hand, Trump can't say who he's talking to. And on the other hand, Iran is saying we're not talking to the U.S. anymore. It's over or whatever. This sounds an awful lot like the way Putin talks about Ukraine as well, where the Ukrainians are like, look, we're willing to come to the table about a lot of these things. And the Russians are like, yeah, we are too, as long as you agree to give us parts of the country we haven't won in war yet, because we can't. And even if we want them, we can't hold them. Right. I just don't see an end to this anytime soon that even moderately looks like Russia's making any headway. Now, it's even worse that they're bombing civilian areas. Have killed a few dozen people over the last week in civilian areas. They're not striking. They're not striking areas that are clearly military targets. It reeks of desperation and ugliness, just like the initial attack. So the question is where do we end up, I don't know where the tap out comes from.
Well, they seem to have made some advances toward Konstantinivka, which is kind of a peripheral town in the fortress city stretch. So it,
Hmm.
they're kind of trying to make hay out of that. The Russians are,
Hmm.
and those the people who support Russia are. But it seems as though that's been repelled. The Ukrainians are definitely um, getting within range and using new weaponry to attack their supply routes. Not just Crimea, of course, which is essential, but also they're starting to stretch back further into their support lines. And a lot of Ukrainian leaders, including Zelensky, but a lot of military leaders, are saying we have about a 6 month window to press our advantage.
Hmm.
And I discern an awful lot from that, in that they really want to pull, push the throttle while they have the advantage, and they are not restrained anymore like they were in, I guess it would have been 23 in the
Hmm.
counteroffensive uh, to try and push out from Kherson and Kharkiv, um, because they don't care about the Americans anymore.
Hmm.
They're doesn't matter anymore. They are increasingly becoming um, militarily independent, and they're getting to, because they are developing new things like their own cruise missiles, their own intermediary, ballistic missiles.
Hmm.
That they are, they're still having some problems with the supply chain for their air defense, in particular the Patriot, and that's an American issue. But they're they're not as bound to obeying Moscow, or obeying DC's dictates, because screw you guys.
Hmm.
screw and I think Americans should be aware of this. I think Americans should be aware that we're increasingly becoming irrelevant.
Well,
um
maybe we will
so
after Andrew Tate and Candace Owens return to the United States from the St.
yeah,
Petersburg Economic Forum.
which just got hit, by the way.
Yep.
And I'm sure they'll try and spin that into, the dastardly Ukrainians hit us while we were in St. Petersburg, which is,
Hmm.
I think, probably the spin that they will be told to say. The St.
But they
Petersburg
hit.
Economic
Yeah.
Forum is a it's a it is such a terrible, disgusting annual
It's a,
event. It is
it,
it is a way for
it's a
Putin to kind
pedophile
of,
convention. That one of the big things that
well, yeah, I mean,
because like what's his name, Scott Ritter. But until they took his passport away, was a regular visitor there, and basically that's, I think, how they paid him for the influence campaign he did over here, because you got to give somebody something of they consider a value, and being a twice convicted pedophile, who's a regular there, seems like that it's hard to believe they created that rule just for him. That said, the bombings, for the record, by the way, were about 10 miles away from the forum itself. One hit an oil field and the other hit a missile ship that was in the port of St. Petersburg. Now, there's a chance that Candace and Tate and all these idiots might have been on a tour of the town and seen the port when it was struck, or saw that it had been, or were there before and then heard it was struck after, whatever. But that's clearly one of the things you know, there was supposed to be this sort of parade about like how futuristic we are. They're doing the same hard sell that they sent to that they did to Tucker Carlson when he was there, which is they show you 3 nice restaurants and the subway station, and then you stay in a Kremlin-owned hotel, and then everything is fine. It doesn't bother you that 60% of the country doesn't have a flush toilet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always like to talk about Tucker's visit because they took him to Kievskaya Vokzal, which is Kiev railroad station, and Kievskaya Vokzal in Moscow is filled with iconography of showing how great and benevolent.
It's just a
that's the right word,
propaganda
isn't it?
mosaic.
The Russians are towards these poor peasant people that are the Ukrainians. The whole station has this kind of, these these murals and things like that, where they show Russians being this great Slavic state that got these little peasant Ukrainian people to kind of like get into the great Russian Empire and how wonderful that was for them. Ukrainians look at that and they're like, how incredibly insulting that is. But Tucker goes there, and he must have known it. He must have, at some point, somebody must have told him this is Kiev Station. And he still did all that. Like, look how beautiful the underground is here, and the metro is so, it's so clean and well lit and beautiful and pristine, and all the rest of it works so well. At some point, he must have known he was in Kiev Station, and he didn't even bother for a half a second.
I was just sad that he didn't see any group fights between rando groups of young men. Most of them are all fighting now, obviously, so they don't do as much in the middle of streets where they just shirts and skins and create a big brawl in the middle of a park for no reason. Or the guys who ride the top of the L trains that they have there and get electrocuted. Those guys are fun. I what I would love to do with Tucker Carlson, besides visit a truck stop, is sit down and watch like any of the dash cam videos out of Russia with him. Just like watch hours of dash cam video, especially now. Yeah. P.S. This is the view. This is the view that Andrew and Candace are having right now.
It's Candace, and who else is it? Tate?
Andrew Tate. Yeah. Because he's an economic genius.
Well, to be fair, the St. Petersburg Economic Forum is not really about economics. It's about the Russian Empire kind of
reconstituting itself. Okay.
Yeah, it's them kind of like going, we are the great Russian Empire, we are the great Russian state, and we're a superpower, and we're a global power, and everybody should
sort of like the World Economic Forum for rich assholes, right?
Yeah. It's not as much about actual economics as it is a flex.
Mm-hmm.
So. That's why they were. And I caught a couple of I don't even go on social media hardly anymore, but I did see a couple of photographs that Candace Owens put out about oh my God, this is such a beautiful city, and this is so, and it's like it's not that I don't think people can have their own opinion about whatever matter in the world. What you are free to talk crap as much as you like. But I have spent 30 years studying Russia and the former Russian Empire. I speak, albeit badly, I speak Russian. I've spent years of my life, and I still feel like there's huge chunk of things that I can still learn. So to have somebody just kind of drop into Russia and be like, well, my first impressions is that Moscow is a really beautiful and clean city. Well, it is, because it sucks all of the resources from the rest of the country. And it's made for the rich, it's made for the elite. Moscow is a, one could say Potemkin village. So is Petersburg. Petersburg is beautiful. I actually really like Petersburg. It's a beautiful canaled city. One does have to point out the fact that in both cities it was Italian architects that built them, and in Petersburg in particular, they built a city once. It's sunk into the swamp. 10,000 people were killed. And then Peter decided, oh, let's build on the corpses of those 10,000. So, but I'm betting you that Candace Owens does not know that story.
No.
No. So, look, we're going to get pelted in Kiev this entire summer. We're absolutely, but it's done. This war is done. It's on a, and I've been saying this for quite some time, but I don't think it's ever been as clear to me as it is now, because of the desperation of what Moscow is doing, and what's happening even on the front lines. And I talk to people who have just come from the front lines, or who are very present along the zero line. It's not going to go the way that the fellow travelers and the Moscow supporters and the Putin supporters think it's going to go. It's at a it's always been there. It's just now it's getting to the point where it's becoming increasingly evident to everybody, and I think we get to a point where it is inescapable that Russia is coming out of this war worse than it came into it. And Ukraine is going to come out of this war far stronger than it went into it. And the shift of momentum is quickly becoming inescapable. What that means for Putin, I don't know. What that means for Trump in his take on, Rubio has already said, what was it, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, where he said, we're hands off now. We're not. Well, the Ukrainian response to that has been, in some, in a large percentage, okay, go, then go. Right. We'll do it without you then. But I'm hesitant to be. I wouldn't want to put words in their mouth, because of course this is their war, and I've always respected the fact that I'm an observer, I'm not a participant, and so whatever the Ukrainians say, I tend to kind of. Right. If they, I'll give them agency. And they have said that we need to push the advantage, and that's what their intent is. But I think while they are grateful for what America has done previously, and in some ways continues to do, they're also really getting to the point where they're autonomous. And with that autonomy comes the power to say to Washington, we're going to do what we're going to do, and I think we're at a inflection point. I really do. It's going to suck for us in Kiev because they are going to pound the hell out of us in their desperation. But the inescapable fact that the Russians have completely screwed up this war is going to become, unavoidable. And again, as we've discussed many times, who are they if they are not empire? And the cornerstone of their empire is Ukraine. And so if the realization that even the Russians themselves will have to recognize that there's no win here for them, is going to be earth-shattering to them. It is going to change their whole.
It's like bombing. It's like bombing Mecca or Medina for the Iranians. Because you just can't. It's off the table. That's why they, by the way, have been back to threatening Europe. I would like to point out, if I may, that Donald Trump did an interview with Lara Trump over the weekend, or allegedly did, and he. Sorry, that's Chris from Family Guy. I would like to say, for the record, we have now reached like full meme. He is Trump has become Chris from Family Guy. He is literally the dude at this point. But in this, he sort of there was very little that I know of that they spoke about Ukraine. He's just he's over it in the same way that he's over the Iran war at this point. It seems like he just doesn't care about. Not just about like not supporting the Ukrainians against the Russians, but he's kind of given up on American forces around Iran at this point. He's just like, I don't know, if we get hit, we get hit. Shit happens. It's war, So I do think there's a consistency here, whether we like to admit it or not, that Donald Trump he gets bored very easily unless he can bully something into existence. The question I guess we now have, is Putin in a similar situation? Because as Trump loses interest in Ukraine, he also loses interest in shitting on Ukraine. He can't even be bothered to call them out and say that that it's Zelensky's fault or any of that stuff. But like Putin, I guess he gave a speech, or he's going to give a speech at the Economic Forum at this Friday or some shit, allegedly.
Yeah, he normally does.
Yeah,
last day of the forum, he normally does this.
And I have no doubt we'll see Andrew Tate and Candace Owens sitting at his table like Jill Stein and Mike Flynn. The question, I guess, that everybody has for you is like, they're worried about your safety. This is what the chat room is constantly talking about, and I completely understand this. And granted, you have taken on this mantle, and you are soldiering through it in that regard. Are you able to do new episodes of On the Edge while this stuff is going on? While the heavy bombing, do you have one coming out this weekend? One planned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. It's already in the can. It's with a guy he's a Marine, a U.S. Marine who's helping with the drone program here. So it's already in the can. We're editing it now. And I have a scheduled interview for Monday. So then we'll have an episode for the following. Yeah, no, our biggest hurdle On the Edge has been recovering from the winter attacks and the damage that was done. The damage that was done to the electrical grid. Now, having said that, anything is possible. If my apartment gets hit, then I will move to the studio. If the studio gets hit, I will move
the
to
gear
the
over your
apartment.
place. Right.
Look, or find a new place. Yeah, sure. I live very, very downtown, and we the anti-air capacity in the very, very center of town, because this is also where like the
The capital is.
well, it's where the presidential palace is. It's where the parliament is. It's where the headquarters for the intelligence
Mhm.
for kind of Ukrainian intelligence. That's located here. I have a friend that lives very close to that headquarters, the SBU, the Security Bureau of Ukraine.
Right.
Not a direct translation, but um, and we're gonna get hit. It's just it's just the way it is.
Mhm.
Um, so it's part of being in a war zone, and
Mhm.
it's I don't know what to say. I mean, I appreciate the concern, but I've been I made the decision to be here. I know the full threat and the risk to myself that it entails, but um, it's more important that we have representation coming
Mhm.
from Ukraine and Kiev than the risk to my personal safety. I mean, I firmly believe that.
Mhm.
This this is a look, this is a war that is the frontline kinetic part of a global conflict that's happening, that's going to change the course of human history.
Mhm.
And this is the tippy, you know, sharp point of the spear. This is the
Mhm.
kinetic part of it. But
Right.
don't make any mistake about it. The Russians are inside our body politic in the West.
Mhm.
They are there is a global oligarchic, autocratic movement that wants to destroy the ideals of the Age of Enlightenment, and that is what birthed us as a nation. The idea, writing down into law that human rights and liberty and uh, self determination and everything that we stand for in
Mhm.
the American Revolution. And it is. I'm preaching to the converted. I know you and I stand. One of the reasons you and I work together,
Yeah.
buddy. Yeah, join or die.
Mhm.
One of the reasons I gravitated to you, and the reason why I continue to, take time out on a Wednesday or a Saturday night to talk to you about this, is because you and I, we both believe in the same thing. We are
Yep.
America is a revolution, and it's a project, and it's far from done, and
Mhm.
it's complicated, and it's messy, and it's hard. But
Mhm.
I would rather stand with the people of Ukraine in a similar fight against um, traditional autocracy and
Right.
greed and oligarchy and kings and all the things that we reject as a society. I mean, I make the joke, Americans by their very nature hate empire, especially when we conduct in it. I mean, like, I recognize that we are flawed, and
Yeah.
it's the reason. And again, not to repeat myself ad nauseum, but it's the reason I have that Lincoln quote.
Mhm.
We're not perfect. We're flawed. We have always had MAGA, and we can whittle it away, and hopefully we can get to a place where you put it in the rear view mirror. But our entire history, we've had MAGA, and you can
Yeah.
call them the
So.
KKK, you can call them the Confederacy, you can call
Mhm.
them the nativists, you can call them whatever you want, but it's the guys that only give lip service to the ideals of the
Well,
Constitution, but really who only desire power,
and for the
that we
record,
always have to fight
yeah.
against.
For the record, democracy, the act of creating democracy, is a recognition that we are flawed. It is dictatorships, oligarchies, and monarchies that operate under the illusion that there are individuals among us, whether they be the chairman of the Communist Party or or a royal family, that there are flawless people that will make flawless decisions for us. everybody's flawed. There are no magic families, and that we should all take a part in not only in our right to self-determination, but our responsibilities under self-determination. One of the things that I push back on all the time when we talk about rights in our country, which is, I believe in our inalienable rights that exist under the Constitution, but the responsibilities that go along with it, to act in your highest order, to not violate those things or just allow corruption to go because, fuck it, it's out of our hands. It's the monarchy. You know, it's Chinatown, Jake. Which is what we seem to be doing with Trump, because we're treating him like they did King George, or like they do Vladimir Putin, or they do Xi Jinping, or or MBS. They just go, well, fuck it, we're not in charge. The oligarchy runs things. No, they fucking don't, unless we let them. Unless we believe what they say about democracy, that it doesn't matter and our vote doesn't have an impact, because it absolutely does, or they wouldn't be trying to take it away. Meanwhile, if I may, Candace Owens was interviewed on Russian sanctioned, by the way, U.S.
Oh my
sanctioned.
God! Persona от латинского persone. Latinska. What? A person from the Latin-speaking world, from Latin.
The West, some shit.
It's the West. They're basically meaning the West.
So she's
a person from the West.
She's living her best. She's living her best life. Being,
my God.
It's fucking embarrassing. So I would like to say to all the, she really cares about Charlie Kirk and America First. No, she fucking well doesn't. Because she did a whole thing on, oh my God, the church is over here. Like I'll show you the pictures, like, oh my God, the iconography and all that kind of stuff. You know, Ukraine has places like that too, and Russia's been bombing them. So A, eat shit. B, just because you wear the symbol doesn't mean you live up to it. And in many ways, you will find that the people that have the most symbology around them are the people who least live up to the meaning of that symbol. Look at Donald Trump molesting every American flag he sees, right? This motherfucker doesn't care about the United States. He's enriching himself and his own family on the back of the taxpayer because he's always viewed us as suckers and losers, just like people dumb enough to join the military in his estimation. The same thing is true of the Russian Orthodox Church. Sorry, what Christian behavior do you see out of not just Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin, who are all, by the way, straight up eugenicists, Darwinistic eugenicists. They are. If you want to talk about white supremacy, the Russian leadership fits well into that, and only finds bizarre fellow travelers in, like, Arab supremacists in the MBS crowd, the rich ones, right? We're lighter skinned and richer than everybody else, or the Han Chinese that run the CCP right now, who are Han supremacists, which I don't know why everybody in the United States doesn't understand that. It's bizarre to me that they think that somehow white supremacy is unique to the United States when we have it. But the fact that she's walking around going, oh my God, look how pretty, about these places, and not recognizing.
I wonder if she is aware that the patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church is a KGB agent. Yes, right. and her rich, Oxford-educated British aristocrat prince that she married, and that whole relationship is
Well, and again, this reeks of the same Tucker Carlson horseshit. It does seem weird to me that in the middle of like this bringing her over there specifically to be interviewed on state TV and to march her around and have her do the Tucker Carlson after bringing Tucker over there is sort of a bizarre middle finger to Donald Trump in the middle of this. It might be the other reason why Trump is ignoring Putin and the entire battle right now is because if he brings it up, he has to bring up the fact that they're treating her like a fucking celebrity, and she's turned on him the same way Tucker has. Like, they're bringing over all the people that have turned on Trump and, called him out.
Well, and again, it's a I've said this recently to somebody. If you walk into a room and you smell sulfur, you don't have to see the devil
yeah.
to know he's been there. It just the whole thing reeks of FSB, intelligence warfare.
hmm
You look at Tenet media, you look at the way that
Yeah.
the Russians have been infiltrating our press corps, and uh, it it so seems orchestrated,
hmm
and she's not smart enough to know. Neither was Tucker.
Right.
They're absolutely. I mean, like the funny
hmm
well, 2 episodes ago we had a guy on the edge who is a fundraiser, and he delivers aid to eastern Ukraine, and he's also a former pastor,
hmm
and he spoke to people who had escaped from occupied Ukraine, where Russians, one of the first things they do is actually try and find non-Russian Orthodox, particularly evangelical Protestant
hmm
groups, and they destroy their churches. They arrest their leadership. They arrest even the clergy, even the people in the congregation, the people who are go to these churches, who
Right.
have joined either the Church of Latter Day Saints or some other evangelical Protestant group. They hate Protestant. They hate anything that isn't Orthodox. They hate the Catholics more than they hate the Protestants.
hmm
But there was a huge effort in the '90s, in particular, to
hmm
bring evangelicals here to try and get them to convert to a Protestant church, and in the East, no less so. So, one of the things they do, and so I find it really funny that, like, oh, they're Christian. So, how beautiful are these churches? And how wonderful, isn't it so wonderful that the Russians actually have this adherence to Christian values, and that they give a place for the church? The church is used as a weapon. And
Yeah.
also, by the way, the church hates you. If you're not Russian Orthodox, the church hates you. So
Right.
they hate. They're. She is absolutely 100% being used as a tool. I mean, go
Well, she,
watch I think it's the 2012 movie Leviathan, where at
mhm.
the end of, not to give spoilers, but at the end of the day, it's the Russian Orthodox Church that's behind all the conflict in the story,
Right.
because the Putin Putin has used the church, and Russians actually aren't that religious. They really aren't, but they have used it as a tool, as a weapon, as an apparatus
Yeah.
to control society. And even people who are not religious, they have to kind of bend the knee to the church, because the church is given power within the
hmm
Russian Federation. And that's what this entire all of this
hmm
is not necessarily religiosity. It is a means to control society, and it's very KGB. It's very kind of Kremlin domination, and their kind of relationship with the church, which is so integrated. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I see somebody in the chat. Kirill is Patriarch Kirill, who was a former KGB agent and is now
Right.
the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, is a really nasty piece of work.
hmm
He rolls
She's
around.
speaking along. She's speaking alongside Dugan at this event.
Of course she
Alexander
is.
Dugan.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And
Sure.
she was to remind everybody, she was very quick to defend the tenant media crowd whose visa into the United States was revoked under Biden. She's Canadian, and then magically got turned back on under Trump. She's back in Nashville, which is apparently where Candace Owens also lives. And now she's jetting off to Russia, which was the funnel point for the Tenet Media money. This should come to, and again, here's the thing. You don't have to be paid to lie by Russia. They can just find fellow travelers or people that say what they want to have said, and then they boost you. They either throw fake people like they do with Tucker Carlson's channel, which apparently he had somewhere in the order of like 6 million members or some horse shit about his Rumble channel. Turns out he has 7,500. That all of his show is boosted artificially on X and on Rumble and on YouTube by these, bot accounts because they like the shit he's stirring. The same thing with Candace. I mean, most of this stuff would flounder in obscurity. I'm not saying that's why I haven't cracked 100,000, but I'm sure not very popular with the bot push crowd in what I talk about on my show. I got the watch hours. That's interesting. I got 20 million watch hours, and largely because I'm on all the time, but also because, what I say is worth watching. Thank you very much. But a big part of what they're doing is just elevated because Russia wants to stir both sides of it. They go after the incendiary. They're basically building the crust, to overwhelm the pizza. That's what this is all about. They're taking her and whoever her diametrically opposed opposite are, and you build both of them up and you let them go after each other. And then Glenn Beck sits between them going, oh my God, there's a civil war brewing. Like, no, there fucking isn't. Like, go outside. It ain't that way. There's definitely a political argument happening in this country, but by and large, it's not all that different from fucking the Tea Party. Remember that shit with the tricorn hat assholes standing on the Capitol lawn saying, get your government hands off my Medicare? Remember that nonsense? Yeah. Same fucking people and same volume. And
they're involved.
Yes.
I mean, yes. I've had people attack me in the past for, saying that the Russians are involved as deeply as they are in our body politic. And they may
bot's gonna bot.
They may not be creating it, but they do jump in on every single thing. They foment it. They foment it. Sometimes it's actually, from inception to, actualization of some sort of information warfare campaign. Sometimes it's something that happens domestically, internally within the United States, but they are right on it. They jump in on every single thing, and because they know they can't fight us on the battlefield. So what they do is divide and conquer, and they've been doing it for a very long time.
Candace Owens doesn't even know which side she'll take. I think money to be on either side of it, because on the one hand, she's pushing this idea that Erica Kirk is a Russian honeypot, and then at the same time mocking the idea that Erica Kirk is mocking the idea that Russia is behind the ideas of, or Alexis Wilkins or whatever, Kash Patel's girlfriend, is a Russian honeypot. So she doesn't care. That's the thing about being just kind of rando spoilers. It's the same thing with Alex Jones. Again, if anything that motherfucker said over the last 3 decades was true about elite oligarchical fucking lizard people running the world was true, they'd have killed him a long time ago. They need, the people that would rather just have scatter shit news are out here. They're making him just. They're basically out there just to make people hate their own government to the point where they just go hands off, right? Walk away and let only Republicans vote, essentially, I guess, and or whoever they think they're behind at any given point. And sometimes they'll be behind the Democrat just because they want to boost the idea and gin up fear in the general maggotry, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's
so
divide and conquer. It's all divide and conquer.
Mhm.
And I know I'm looking at the clock here, and I'm realizing we're kind of down to 10 minutes here or so.
Yeah.
Um, and not to divert the conversation from what's happening in Russia, but I did want to point something else out, and that is what is happening at my old employer, and that
CBS.
is yeah at CBS, and I'm gonna see if I can share this with you here.
Okay.
Uh, Sorry about this. Hold on one moment.
It's okay.
Where is it? I have way too many tabs.
I understood. I lived there. When neither
Yeah,
of us have as many X tabs open as Benny Johnson on any given day. But they feed him a
yeah.
list and he reads from it. By the way, Poop Picker Upper, thank you so much. He goes, see where the MP of Albania's house was attacked because he gave Ivanka and Jared the protected island that was bunkers from World War II? Yeah, I've said for a while, Poop Picker Upper, that the Trump family is in deep shit when he's no longer in power because they're no longer going to be useful to the super rich. They're not really among them. They're basically just there as a bribe point for him while he's president. After that, every Trump property on earth is a fucking target. The Iranians would literally, they could just blow up. But, and I'm not suggesting this. I'm saying this is strategically, I think, something that's a possibility. Blow up Trump buildings and Trump properties to both shock and put fear in Americans that property on American soil is being attacked and garner sympathy at the same time with the, Hassan assholes were like, America deserved 9/11. Well, guess what? Our economy doubled after 9/11. Defense contractors did just fine. And the only people that, quote, got 9/11 were the people in the airplanes and the people in the fucking building and the cops and other folks that were, that got lung diseases. So that's who he thinks deserved fucking 9/11. I'm going to put this in. I think I have another, like a 2 camera. I think so. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I can do this. I'm going to put this in here. Let me do one thing. I'll flip us around so that I can show. There you go. And I'm going to put this in here. And I think your screen. There you go. Yeah. And I'll stretch this out a little bit and take this out for a second. So I can show this. We'll put this in here and put here. There you go. This should do it, I think. Some level of it. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
this is I woke up this morning to hear the news
Sorry.
that Scott Pelley had been fired from
Yep.
60 Minutes. This is a 60-minute. I was a producer on this episode of 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley, where we did a thing out of Iraq. So I worked directly with Scott many times over
Yep.
the years, and what they are, and in addition to that, I also I had the same job as Edward R. Murrow.
Mhm.
I was the CBS radio correspondent in London, which is the exact same job that Edward R. Murrow had during the Second World War when he used to go. He used to go to the Ritz. He would have a martini for a little bit of Dutch courage, and then he would go to the rooftop and watch the Luftwaffe bomb London.
Right.
And I was incredibly proud to be a member of CBS News. I was incredibly proud to have the privilege to produce at the preeminent news magazine of record in the United States at 60 Minutes. And this is just, in my career, I did four reports for 60 Minutes. And to see what they are doing, Scott, I have all the time in the world for him. He is an incredibly um, uh, diligent and professional and earnest journalist.
Right.
So of course, this new iteration that the Trump administration has created at 60 Minutes breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It is, Edward R. Murrow and Don Hewitt created 60 Minutes. And I'll tell you, I don't know if I've told this story to you before, Hal, but I'll tell it. I'll tell it now. Again, is one of my dearest friends and colleagues at CBS News was an older guy, so a Vietnam vet, who was kind of their war go-to guy, and
Right.
I was his protege, and he told me a story one time about how there was once an executive producer of the evening news, CBS Evening News, was Walter Cronkite,
Mhm.
and he was fastidious and he was always on time and all the rest of it. And there was one time that this friend tells me this story where he didn't arrive to an editorial meeting on time,
Mhm.
which was totally out of character. And so as the clock ticked on, they were becoming increasingly worried, and they were starting to wonder, should we start calling hospitals? Has
Right.
something happened to this guy? And after 45 minutes or so, or whatever it was, he shows up. He apologizes for being late, and he says, "I've got I'll explain my reasoning for why I'm late. But do you want the good news or the bad news first?" And they've been really anxious over the last 45 minutes waiting for him to arrive. So they say, "Give us the good news." And he says, "Well, the good news is because of a program called 60 Minutes last month, CBS News Incorporated, CBS Corporation, umbrella corporation,
Yep.
turned a profit in the news division because of 60 Minutes." And everybody goes, "Oh, that's great. A success." He said, "Okay, well, what's the bad news?" And the guy says, "For the first time in
First time
CBS
ever.
News history, they turned a
A
profit
profit because of 60 Minutes. Right. Yep.
because of 60
Yeah.
Minutes, and they're gonna want it again."
Yep.
And so this is the trend that's been happening in news for a very long time, and it is that news is no longer an obligation to get licensed, which is what it
Yeah.
used to be under the fairness doctrine. You had to provide news and fair usage to get your license to broadcast on the airwaves. The obviously cable and the internet are different, but if you have a broadcast license, you
Mhm.
have to you have to do a certain percentage of your airtime has to be devoted to news, and it has to be fair.
Mhm.
And they have absolutely torn that apart.
Right.
It is now about profit. It is about getting eyeballs. It's about audience share. It's about commercial airtime and all that, the rest of it. So they have destroyed 60 Minutes. They have destroyed CBS News, which I may be biased, but I think was one of the finest
Mhm.
news outlets in America as a broadcast outlet. It was the network of record. It is the Tiffany network. It is the house that Murrow built, and they have destroyed it, and it's not coming back. And it breaks my heart. And I am I'm a huge fan of Edward R. Murrow. I think he was one of our finest journalists in the history of America. And if he were to see what CBS has become under Trump by design, he would be, I'm sure, distressed. He would be disgusted. So we're in an information war. It is being conducted internally, domestically, by the Trump administration um, for their own ends, but also at the behest of Russia. And they're using Russian techniques. One of the first things that Vladimir Putin did when he came to power was to seize control of all information sources and broadcast outlets in Russia. And I think Trump took that lesson, and I think he's engaged in doing the same thing, and it really breaks my heart. So I wanted to take a minute to
Yeah.
a little requiem for CBS News. I mean, I even have I'm inked. I even have CBS News inked on
Right.
the eye. I have CBS eye on me. Because I was very proud to be a member of CBS News, and it's gone.
Right.
It's gone, and it was done on purpose.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep you and I. It's a new, there's a new
Era. Yeah.
era of news and information. I'm going to keep doing on the edge because I can. You're going to keep doing what you do, and the people that you work with in this little community that we're building, where
Yep.
we're trying to keep information honest and convey it to an audience. And obviously, things evolve, things change, but I'm gonna, I would pour one out for Edward R. Murrow and CBS News if I had a drink with me. But it's sad to see it go, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to take a moment and recognize
Yeah.
that we've lost something when we lose CBS News, and
Agreed.
it's sad.
I agree. I do believe all of these things can come back, and surprisingly fast when they are not
But we'll
under
do
the.
it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do
Right. That's absolutely right. I would love to be the uncomfortable interview people don't look forward to.
it.
Why? Oh shit! I'm sitting down with that guy. He knows way too much about the price of oil for somebody that funny and charming. All right, we're at the end. I want to thank you so much. Don't forget, everybody, subscribe to Philip Bittner Show. I'm going to rest my voice until this afternoon, and then try again. And appreciate you, brother. And I will see you on Saturday.
And if you do, I will see you on Saturday. We had a really good episode last Sunday
Mhm.
with a Latvian a content creator. If you haven't watched it yet, go take a look. It's Georgi Ivanovs, and it's a really good episode. So we talked about a wide variety of things and kind of took in this window of this period, this late spring, early summer, where again, as I said at the beginning of our conversation, the momentum is changing, and so we talk about all of that. So I'm
Great.
proud of that episode. So take a look at it, and then yes, we will have an episode out this Sunday.
Please subscribe, everybody. All right. Appreciate you, brother. I will see you again very soon. All right.
That's that voice. All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
I will. Okay. There he
All
goes, ladies and gentlemen. Philip Bittner, if I may say, show my damn self. I've been trying to figure out what the problem has been specifically with my voice, and I'm fairly certain at this point it's the kidney, but I
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
dear God, what in the Sam Hill? Hey, did my chat open up again? It did. I don't know what the beer fart was that stopped that. It's like a little horse shirt. It certainly is. All right, I'm gonna go rest my voice. I'll see you guys this afternoon. I promise. I'm trying. And before I go though, if I may, Thank you, Bonnie, so much. Thank you, Juicebox. These are the only things I'm going to say. Thank you, Luis. This is what a dozen donuts cost right now. It's true. Thank you, Karen. Really appreciate that. Oops, where'd it go? There we go. Thank you, Karen. Bless you for the sticker, James. Thank you so much. I got to stop clearing my throat. Thank you, Juicebox. Sending positive vibes to Phil. He got them clearly. Hold on. There we go. Bless you. Julie, thank you so much for the sticker and all that and the support. Bless you. Really appreciate it. Means a ton. Wow. And Poo Picker Upper, I mentioned what you said before about Ivanka and stuff. We'll talk about this afternoon. And then Jimmy gave a super chat for the kidney obligation, and I appreciate it. It's the irony that that's what got my dad. It's not lost on me. I got to watch my powers. Apparently, I am a powerful warlock, and even in jest, I have powers. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I got to stop. Don't clear your throat. Just let it hang. My God. All right. Love you guys. I will see you this afternoon. We're going to raid Cliff Schechter now, too. So enjoy Cliff. Tell him I said hi. Bow pulled tight, crown of gold, winter light, rolling hands. Right. Can't do that. I can't sing right now. I just gotta go.